learners, thank you for tuning in again for our math literacy class today on probability and predictions, the practice and application section. So we're going to start with our practice section. Question 1 says, Clara tossed a coin once. So Clara only tossed this coin once. Then A says, write down all the possible outcomes. So what are the possible outcomes when you toss a coin? What might you land in? You might either land on a head, or you might land on a tail. So these are all the possible outcomes whenever you are dealing with a coin. Then B says, are all the outcomes equal or not? Are these outcomes equal or not? They are definitely equal because there's just two of them. So it's either a head or a tail. There's no third outcome. So these outcomes are actually equal. So C, what is the probability of getting a tail? So now we are looking at the probability of getting a tail. So what do we do? How do we calculate, how do we determine probability? We say probability is equals to how many outcomes do we have when we toss a coin? How many outcomes in this particular event? We've got two because it's either a head or a tail. So there's two possible outcomes. Then how many tails do we have when we toss this coin once? How many tails? We only have one tail, so it means it's 1/2. But because our question does not specifically state on how should we express this probability that we're determining, then it means that you can leave it as a fraction, or you can write it as a decimal number, which is 0.5, or you can write it as a percentage, which is 50%. So it means there are 50% chances that we might get a tail whenever we are tossing this coin. Then D says, what is the probability of getting a head or a tail? This word or, it means now we are increasing our chances. We want to be safe. So we want to check whether if ever it's a head, if ever it's a tail, then it means if this was a game where you are playing, it means you are winning, whether you get a head or you get a tail. So we are increasing those chances. So how do we determine probability? We say probability is equals to how many outcomes do we have when you toss a coin? We've got two outcomes, 1 and 2. So it's two outcomes. How many heads do we have in this outcome? We've got 1 plus how many tails do we have? We've got 1. So what is 1 plus 1? It is 2/2. So 2/2 it's equals to 1, which is very certain that you might get a head or a tail, and it is definitely certain that you will be, it is actually 100% that you will get either a head or a tail. So there's no other outcome that we can get from tossing a coin. So when you toss a coin, it can either be a head or a tail. So this person wants to increase the chances when they say the word or. So it means you must add your options now. Then the next question, Nolo got a report indicating that she's going to repeat the grade she's currently in. She uses her previous marks to predict her future performance. So she wants to check that, okay, if ever I'm going to repeat the very same grade and I was doing maybe math literacy, then I want to check that if ever I pass the first test with 28%, then what are my chances for next year? Because I'll be repeating this grade. Am I going to get more marks or am I going to get less marks? So that's what she's trying to do. Then Nolo gave us her marks out of 50 with all the tests that she's written in this particular subject. Then question A says, what are the possible outcomes when writing an exam? When you write an exam, what are the possible outcomes? The possible outcomes is either you will pass, and the other one is either you will fail. So in this exam, there is no whether you will pass and fail the same time or you will fail and pass the same time. It is either you pass or you fail. So if you don't pass, it means you fail. If you did not fail, it means you have passed. Then question 2, if they have the same number of tasks in the next year, so it means if ever all their tests in total will be 8 still in the next year, what is the probability that she might obtain a mark in the 30s? So we say when we determine probability, it is probability is equals to. Now, how many tests is this person going to write next year? If ever these tests remain the same, they still have 8 tests in that year. It means it will be, the possible outcome is 8. Out of all the 8 tests, how many tests will she get a mark that is 30, that is in the 30s? So we check there with all the tests that she's written, how many tests did she get 30s? She got a 30 with test number 2, 32, and then she got a 34 with test number 5. So these are the only 30s that she got in this test. So it means it's actually 2. Out of the 8, it's only 2 times where she got 30 marks in the 30s. So what is 2 over 8 in its simplest form? 2 goes how many times into 2? Because 2 is our highest common factor. It goes once. How many times does 2 go into 8? It goes 4 times. So the probability is 1 over 4, which is a quarter. So when it's a quarter and you want to convert it to a decimal number, then it becomes 0.25, or it's actually 25%. So there's 25% chances that she might get a test, she might get a mark that is in the 30s in the test that she's going to write the next year. Then there we are given, they say Vusi wants to visit Cape Town for a weekend. He sees the weather forecast. So we are given the weather forecast for Cape Town City from today and the other 6 days to come. Then we are also given the rainfall probability, the rainfall amount, the apparent temperature, the sunrise and sunset, when does the sun rise and when will it set, and the moon rise and the moon set as well. Then question A says, what is the probability that the sun will rise after 7 a.m.? What is the probability that the sun will rise after 7 a.m.? We are given the times where the sun rises. The sun rises at 29 minutes past 6. So just a minute before 6:30, that is when the sun rises. So what is the probability that the sun will rise after 7 a.m.? There is no probability that the sun will rise after 7 a.m. So it means the probability is actually impossible. There's no way we can have the sun rising after 7 a.m. The sun should be before 7 a.m. or maybe before 6:30 in the morning. Then we'll know that it's a definite. So it is impossible or it is 0%. So there's 0% chances that the sun will rise after 7 a.m. B says, what is the probability of a day being partly cloudy in the week? Which week? This is the week that we are talking about. The week that starts today. When is this today? Because the next day is a Friday, then it means that this day is actually the Thursday. So it means the week starts on, his week will start on a Thursday, then it's Friday, Saturday, up until Wednesday. Now, we are asking of a day that is partly cloudy. How do we see that a day is partly cloudy? We have to check that in this, we do have clouds. We can see the clouds there. We've got the clouds, even though the sun will rise, will shine, but we do have clouds. Even on a Monday, we do have clouds. On a Tuesday, we do have clouds and shining. It's also raining, and it will be clouds, shining, and also raining. Now, because we are not given any specific information on when will Vusi be leaving for this trip to Cape Town, so chances are Vusi might leave on today, which is a Thursday, and wants to know that when I get there, by the time I get there, what is the weather there on this particular Thursday, so that I can start my weekend on a Friday, then up until Sunday. Or Vusi might decide to leave on a Friday and spend the entire weekend and come back on a Monday. So because that information is not given, so it means we must accommodate this today, which is a Thursday, because the next day is a Friday. So the day before Thursday the day before Friday is a Thursday. So we cannot have Wednesday being before and skip Thursday and have, so it's definitely Thursday. So we are trying to say that if ever such information has not been given to you, then you must make sure that you include every possible solution that you can come up with. So in this regard, because we are not told whether is he leaving on a Thursday or leaving on a Friday, so we just include this Thursday, which is the today. So we count the number of days where we've got clouds. We've got clouds on the Thursday, clouds on a Monday, clouds on a Tuesday, and clouds on a Wednesday. So whenever we write probability, we say probability is equals to how many days do we have in total? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7 days in total. And then how many days will we get a day that is partly cloudy? So it means it's going to be 1, which is Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So it's actually 4 over 7. So the probability is 4 over 7. We've got 4 day chances that it might be cloudy in the entire 7 days. So let's take a quick ad break, and then we will continue afterwards.